Hello and welcome to Mastermind with me, Clive Myrie. In the spotlight tonight are Brian Dunlop, a company director. His specialist subject is the Gurkhas. Charlie Bonham, a restaurant supervisor. Her subject is the Spanish footballer Fernando Torres. Lisa von Ferks, a publishing consultant, will be answering questions on the life and works of the poet Ayres, and Anthony Fish, a community safety officer, whose subject is Alfred Hitchcock's films of the 1950s. Sadly, only one of our contenders tonight will leave the famous Mastermind black chair, confident in the knowledge they'll be back for the semi-finals. 2 minutes of questions on their chosen specialist subject and 2.5 minutes on general knowledge will decide who that is. So let's ask our first contender to join us, please. Your name?
My name is Brian Dunlop.
Your occupation?
I'm a company director.
And your specialist subject?
The Gurkhas.
The Nepalese nationals who've been recruited into the British Armed Forces since 1816. In 2 minutes, let's go. What's the name of the signature knife with a recurve blade traditionally used by the Gurkhas as both a weapon and a tool?
Kukri.
Yes. What's the name of the treaty signed at the end of the Anglo-Nepalese War, which allowed the recruitment of Gurkhas into the army of the British East India Company?
Sagauli.
Yes, the first Victoria Cross awarded to a member of the Gurkha regiment was to honour which lieutenant who was wounded 3 times in an action during the Indian Rebellion in 1858?
John Tytler.
Yes, in 1897, Gurkha regiments took part in which campaign against frontier tribesmen, including an action at Dargai, jointly conducted with the Gordon Highlanders?
Waziristan.
No, Tirah campaign. Who said after being captured by the Gurkhas in 1815, "I have not come so far in order to run away," and went on to found the Gurkha Sirmoor Battalion?
Sir Frederick Young.
Yes. What award known in the regiment as the Nishani-Mai did Queen Victoria present to the 2nd Gurkha Regiment in recognition of its distinguished service at the Siege of Delhi in 1857?
The Queen's Truncheon.
Yes. In 1915, who became the first native Gurkha to be awarded a Victoria Cross for repeatedly crawling into no man's land under heavy fire to rescue wounded British and Gurkha comrades?
Kulbir Tapa Magar.
Yes, in 1935, the Gurkhas assisted at the aftermath of an earthquake in which city? Now in western Pakistan, where one Gurkha saved the lives of many people trapped under the wreckage.
Peshawar.
No, Quetta. Which hill was the objective given to the 1st Battalion 7th Gurkhas while the Scots Guards attacked Mount Tumbledown during the Falklands conflict of 1982?
Mount William.
Yes, in the late 1970s, a British Army Gurkha recruitment centre was established in which city in western Nepal?
Pokhara.
Yes. In the Second World War, the famed Gurkha assault on Hangman's Hill took place during Allied attempts to capture which hilltop monastery in Italy?
Monte Cassino.
Yes, the 2nd Battalion of the 7th Gurkha Rifles was forced to surrender after it ran out of ammunition during the defence of which North African port city in 1942?
Tobruk.
Yes, during Allied operations, I've started so I'll finish. In Burma, in the 2nd World War, the Gurkhas were used as part of what special force originally under the command of Ord Wingate?
The Chindits.
Yes, it is the Chindits. And Brian, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've scored 11 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. Your name?
Charlie Bonham.
And your occupation?
Restaurant supervisor.
And your specialist subject?
Fernando Torres.
The footballer who won the World Cup with Spain and the Champions League with Chelsea during his 18-year career. In 2 minutes, starting now. Which Spanish football club based in Fernando Torres' hometown near Madrid moved to a stadium named after him in 2011?
Fuenlabrada.
Yes. What was the name of Torres' maternal grandfather who was a fan of Atletico Madrid and inspired his love of the club?
Eulalio Sanz.
Yes. What shirt number did Torres wear when he made his debut for Atletico Madrid in a 2nd division match against Leganés in 2001?
35.
Yes. Torres won the Under-16 European Championships with Spain in 2001 when he scored the only goal of the final from the penalty spot against France in which English stadium?
Sheffield United.
No, Stadium of Light in Sunderland. Torres scored 19 league goals in 35 games for Atletico Madrid, the highest tally of his 2 spells in La Liga in the season that began in which year?
2005?
No, 2003, Spain won their first major trophy in 44 years at Euro 2008, when Torres scored the only goal of the final by clipping the ball over which German goalkeeper?
Manuel Neuer?
No, Jens Lehmann. Spain won the 2010 World Cup final against the Netherlands after Torres, who'd been injured in the run-up to the tournament, came on during extra time as a substitute for which player?
David Villa?
Yes, after Torres handed in a transfer request, he was sold to Chelsea by Liverpool for a reported £50 million in January 2011. Who was the Liverpool manager at the time?
Roy Hodgson?
No, it was Sir Kenny Dalglish. In the second leg of the 2012 Champions League semi-final against Barcelona, which teammate's clearance did Torres collect on the halfway line before running through to score Chelsea's second goal in added time?
Ashley Cole?
Yes, Torres won the Golden Boot at Euro 2012, having scored in the final and twice in a group stage match against which side?
Ireland?
Yes. In Atletico Madrid's final match at the Calderón Stadium in 2017, Torres scored twice in a 3-1 win against which club?
Getafe?
No, Athletic Bilbao. In 2018, Torres joined the Japanese club Sagan Tosu and then retired. I've started so I'll finish. Retired the following year after a league match against which team that featured his former Spain teammates Andres Iniesta and David Villa?
Vissel Kobe?
Yes, it was Vissel Kobe. And Charlie, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've scored 7 points.
Lovely. Thank you.
And our next contender, please. Your name?
Lisa von Ferks,
And your occupation?
publishing consultant.
And your specialist subject?
The life and works of Pam Ayres.
The popular poet and performer whose poems include "Oh, I Wish I'd Looked After Me Teeth." In 2 minutes, starting now. On her career-launching appearance on Opportunity Knocks, Pam Ayres read one poem entitled Pam Ayres and the Embarrassing Experience with the what?
Parrot.
Yes, which British actress was the subject of a comic song that Ayres composed for a school review at her school, Farringdon Secondary Modern near Swindon, but was too embarrassed to perform?
Diana Dawes.
Yes, what pseudonym did Ayres use for her first published poem, which appeared in the company newspaper for Smith's Industries, where she worked at the time?
Alice Frick.
Yes, Ayres wrote the poem Don't Start about parenting a lively toddler after watching a seasick mother trying to cope with her young son on a ferry trip from Liverpool to which town?
Isle of... pass.
Ayres joined the Women's Royal Air Force in 1965 as a plotter of aerial photography and 2 years later was posted abroad to which country in Southeast Asia?
Singapore.
Yes, in the poem Goodwill to Men, Give Us Your Money, in which turkeys they got murdered and cockerels they got stuffed. Christmas Eve falls on which day of the week?
Friday.
Yes, on her second appearance on Opportunity Knocks, Ayres tied for first place with which Australian singer?
Tony...
I need more.
Tony Pete. Pass.
I'm afraid I have to take your answer. It was Tony Monopoly, the title character of which poem tended to digress and would always tell you rather more instead of rather less.
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
The title character of which poem tended to digress and would always tell you rather more instead of rather less.
Little Lawrence Greenaway.
Yes, Pam Ayres' first dog, Lucy, the real-life inspiration behind the poem, but Puppy Problems was what breed?
Labrador.
Yes, Ayres lasted just 2 days in her job as a receptionist for a Butlins holiday camp after discovering that the role included carrying slop buckets around the chalets. The holiday camp was in which coastal resort in southeast England?
Clacton-on-Sea.
Yes, it was Clacton-on-Sea. And Lisa, you had one pass. Ayres' poem, Don't Start, about parenting a lively toddler. She was watching a seasick mother on a ferry trip from Liverpool to Douglas.
Ah.
And at the end of that round, Lisa, you've scored 8 points.
Thank you.
And now our final contender, please. Your name?
Anthony Fish,
And your occupation?
Community Safety Officer.
And your specialist subject?
Alfred Hitchcock films of the 1950s.
A decade that saw the release of some of the most memorable films directed by the master of suspense. In 2 minutes, Starting now, a single crash of cymbals and how it rocked the lives of an American family is the written preamble to which Hitchcock film set partly in Morocco.
The man who knew too much.
Yes, the dead man discovered to be Harry in The Trouble with Harry has a letter in his pocket which reveals that he is a resident of Boston, Massachusetts and has what surname?
Warp.
Yes, which of Hitchcock's films of the 1950s was based on a play of the same title by Frederick Knott, who also wrote the film screenplay?
Violent for murder.
Yes, in Strangers on a Train, the college professor, whom Guy hopes will provide him with an alibi for his wife's murder, works for what academic institution?
Delaware Tech.
Yes, in which film does Hitchcock make one of his regular cameo appearances when he's seen winding a clock in a songwriter's living room?
Rear Window.
Yes, in I Confess, what's the name of the church where Michael Logan, who is suspected of murdering the blackmailer Monsieur Villette, has been a priest for almost 2 years?
Summary.
Yes, Roger Thornhill is attacked by a crop-dusting plane in North by Northwest, but he is saved when the plane crashes into an industrial vehicle transporting what commodity?
Oil.
Yes, in Rear Window, what's the numerical name of the exclusive restaurant from which Lisa Fremont orders a dinner delivery to Jeff's apartment?
21.
Yes, in Stage Fright, Eve Gill takes Detective Smith to a garden party where it pours down with rain and he lends her his umbrella so that she can sell programs. Which club is the venue for the party?
Roehampton.
Yes, in I Confess, it's revealed that Father Michael Logan fought in the war before taking holy orders and was awarded what medal for his service?
Military Cross.
Yes, after Scotty follows Judy Barton to the Empire Hotel in Vertigo, she reveals to him that she has moved to San Francisco from which city in Kansas?
Salina.
Yes, in The Wrong Man, the police charge Manny Balestrero with armed robbery after he takes a handwriting test and makes the same spelling mistake as the wanted criminal. What word does he spell incorrectly?
Draw.
Yes, in To Catch a Thief, John Roby meets the insurance executive, Mr. Hewson, at the entrance to the flower market in Nice and identifies himself to Hewson by doing what?
Flipping a coin.
Yes. In Strangers on a Train, I've started so I'll finish. Bruno laughs at his mother's latest painting, thinking it to be a bad portrait of his father, but she reveals that the subject is actually which saint?
St. Francis of Assisi.
Yes. And Anthony, you got them all right. You had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've scored 14 points. And at the end of the Specialist Subjects round, let's have a look at the scores. In fourth place with 7 points is Charlie. In third place with 8 points sits Lisa. In second place with 11 points, it's Brian. And in first place with 14 points, it's Anthony. So now the general knowledge round. And if there's a tie at the end, then the number of passes is taken into account and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, it's a tie break. So let's ask Charlie to join us again, please. So, Charlie, you start with 7 points. You've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Starting now, what type of naval vessel that can operate underwater has a name that means below the surface of the sea?
Submarine.
Yes, International Nurses' Day is observed each year on the 12th of May, the birthday of which nurse who campaigned for the reform of healthcare in the 19th century?
Florence Nightingale?
Yes, the former intelligence agent Robert McCall, played on television by Edward Woodward from 1985 to 1989 and in film by Denzel Washington in 2014 and 2018, is better known by what name?
The Equalizer?
Yes, what five-letter word means to extract a metal from its ore by heating it?
Pass.
In 1970, which member of the Beatles reached the top 10 with his debut solo album, Sentimental Journey, a collection of cover versions of songs from previous decades?
George Harrison?
No, Ringo Starr. The Sea of Galilee in Israel has what alternative name derived from that of a Roman emperor?
Caspian Sea?
No, Lake Tiberias. In German legend, what verminous creatures were lured away from the town of Hamelin by the Pied Piper, who later also led away the children?
Rats?
Yes. A 1991 film starring River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves is entitled My Own Private what?
Thoughts?
No, Idaho. What name, thought to be derived from the French for Lady Jane, is given to a bulbous, narrow-necked bottle encased in wicker?
Pass.
The SI unit of inductance, commonly abbreviated to an uppercase letter H, is named after which American physicist?
Hertz?
No, Joseph Henry. In 2013, which city in Northern Ireland became the first place to be designated as a UK city of culture?
Belfast?
No, Derry or Londonderry. What percentage is the equivalent of the fraction 1/4?
25%.
Yes, the political agreement that sought to abolish border controls within the European Union is named after which village in Luxembourg, where it was signed in 1985?
Luxembourg City.
No, Schengen. What medical name derived from a Greek word for interval or space is given to a gap between two adjacent teeth?
Cavity?
No, diastema. What was the surname of the British author with the four names Gilbert Keith, who was born in 1874 and wrote a series of books featuring a crime-solving priest?
Elliot.
No, Chesterton. Which US city has a basketball team known as the Knicks and an American football team called the Jets?
Boston?
No, New York. And your time is up. So, Charlie, you had 2 passes. You'll recognise this. It's one of those bottles. It's called a demijohn.
Okay.
What 5-letter word means to extract metal from its ore by heating it? You smelt it.
Of course you do.
It's that chair, I know. And at the end of that round, Charlie, you now have a total of 12 points.
Thank you.
And next up, let's have Lisa again, please. So, Lisa, you start with 8 points. You've got 2.5 minutes of general knowledge questions starting now. The word pride normally refers to a group of which big cats living together?
Lions.
Yes, the name of what learning difficulty affecting reading and spelling skills is derived from Greek words meaning difficult and word.
Dyslexia.
Yes, in February 2021, which British singer won the 2nd series of the television entertainment show The Masked Singer, disguised as a character named Sausage?
Joss Stone.
Yes, the name of what tourist region of southeastern Spain translates as White Coast?
Costa Blanca.
Yes, the title of which novel by Thomas Hardy is adapted from a line in the poem Elegy, written in a country churchyard by Thomas Gray?
Pass.
What word that can mean tolerance or perseverance is the name given to a type of card game sometimes called solitaire for just one player?
Patience.
Yes, what 1951 stage musical set in California features the songs Wandering Star and They Call the Wind Mariah, and was adapted as a 1969 film with Clint Eastwood and Lee Marvin?
Pass.
In the human pelvis, each of the hip bones is formed by a fusion of the ilium, the pubis, and which other bone?
Humerus.
No, ischium. In 2019, Steve Clark succeeded Alex McLeish as the head coach of the national football team of which one of the home nations of the UK?
Scotland.
Yes, what was the name of the US vice president who resigned in 1973 after admitting income tax evasion?
Pass.
The French musician Richard Clayderman is best known for playing what instrument?
Piano.
Yes, which German astronomer and mathematician wrote the book Astronomia Nova, or New Astronomy, published in 1609, which sets out his first 2 laws of planetary motion?
Pass.
Which paper size is half the size of A2?
A1.
No, A3. Which Australian outlaw of Irish descent led a gang of armed robbers until he was captured and then hanged for murder in Melbourne jail in 1880?
Ned Kelly.
Yes, between 2001 and 2008, which American R&B singer had consecutive UK #1 albums entitled 8701, Confessions, and Here I Stand?
Beyonce.
No, Usher. Which English lighthouse stands at the southern tip of the Dorset Peninsula that's connected to the mainland by Chesil Beach?
Portland Bill.
Yes, the son born to the Prince and Princess of Wales in September 1984 and given the forenames Henry Charles Albert David is better known by what first name?
Harry.
Yes, it is Harry. And Lisa, you had 4 passes. Johannes Kepler is the German astronomer and mathematician who wrote the book Astronomia Nova. Spiro Agnew is the US vice president who resigned in 1973 over income tax evasion. Paint Your Wagon is the stage musical.
Of course.
And Far From the Madding Crowd. That's the title of the novel.
Nearly said that.
I know. It was there on the tip of your tongue. And at the end of all that, Lisa, you've got a total of 18 points.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Brian. So, Brian, you start with 11 points. The score to beat, as it stands, is 18 points. And you've got 2.5 minutes of general knowledge, starting now. A vixen is a female of what animal?
Fox.
Yes, in the phrase Richard of York gave battle in vain, he used to remember the order of the colours of the rainbow. What colour is represented by the word vein?
Violet.
Yes, which element has the atomic number 92 and the chemical symbol U?
Uranium.
Yes, which American boxer who became the world heavyweight champion in 1962 after he knocked out Floyd Patterson in the first round, defended the title only once before losing it to Muhammad Ali, then known as Cassius Clay, in 1964?
Joe Lewis.
No, Sonny Liston. Which summer month of the Gregorian calendar is named after the first emperor of Rome?
July.
No, August. From the 1890s until the early 1960s, the New York Philharmonic Orchestra was based at what concert venue named after the Scottish-American industrialist who originally funded it?
Carnegie Hall.
Yes, what's the first name of the doll introduced in 1961 as the boyfriend of Barbie?
Ken.
Yes, what's the title of the 2011 erotic novel by E.L. James, the first in a trilogy of books that has been made into films starring Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson?
50 Shades of Grey.
Yes, what alternative name for a white blood cell is derived from Greek words for white and vessel?
Pass.
When Boris Johnson married Carrie Simons in May 2021, he became the first British Prime Minister to wed while in office since which previous Tory incumbent in 1822?
Somerset.
No, Lord Liverpool. Which rock band was formed in 1978 with Chrissie Hynde as its lead singer?
The Pretenders.
Yes, the World Bank has its headquarters in which American city?
New York.
No, Washington, D.C. What stage musical adaptation of a 1964 film which ran in the West End for more than 3 years from 2004 and was revived in 2019 features the songs Practically Perfect, Chim Chim Cheree and Let's Go Fly a Kite?
Mary Poppins.
Yes, what's the name of a customized storage box used to preserve the moisture of tobacco products such as cigars?
Fumidor.
Humidor, yes. Which Irish city stands at the head of the Shannon Estuary, where the river widens before it flows into the Atlantic Ocean?
Limerick.
Yes. What was the surname of the German brothers Jakob and Wilhelm, whose collections of fairy tales such as Little Red Riding Hood and Cinderella were published in the early 19th century?
Grimm.
Yes. Which Italian composer wrote the operas Semiramide and Tancredi, both based on works by Voltaire?
Pass.
Well, the answer to that is Rossini. And you had one other pass. Leukocyte is the alternative name for a white blood cell derived from the Greek words for white and vessel. And at the end of that round, Brian, you now have 22 points.
Thank you, Clive.
And finally, it's Anthony's turn again. So, Anthony, you start with 14 points, the score to beat. To get through to the semi-finals is Brian's 22 points, and you've got 2.5 minutes of general knowledge starting now. Rosso is the Italian word for what primary colour?
Red.
Yes, what type of utility knife, notable for its retractable blade, is named after the company founded in Connecticut in 1843 that first manufactured it?
Switchblade.
No, Stanley knife. As a child in 1940, Tenzin Gyatso was officially installed as the successor to what title in Tibetan Buddhism?
Dalai Lama.
Yes, the Great Ocean Road is a coastal highway that extends for more than 150 miles in which Commonwealth country?
Australia.
Yes, the 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey was inspired by a short story entitled The Sentinel by which science fiction author?
Arthur C. Clarke.
Yes, the essential ingredients of the Irish dish colcannon are cabbage or kale, and which other vegetable?
Potato.
Yes, which television soap that began in 2000 is about a medical practice in the fictional Midlands town of Leatherbridge?
Doctors.
Yes, the word lakh, ultimately derived from Sanskrit, is commonly used in southern Asia to mean what number?
0.
No, 100,000. What semiconductor device was invented by a trio of American physicists at Bell Laboratories in New Jersey in the late 1940s and in its early days was used in hearing aids and pocket radios?
Transistor.
Yes, which French artist produced the 1874 work Monet painting on his studio boat, which depicts his friend Claude Monet and his wife on a barge on the River Seine?
Manet.
Yes. In December 2020, which American singer topped the UK albums chart for the 6th consecutive time with her album Evermore?
Taylor Swift.
Yes, in the UK, what imperial unit of measurement is equal to about 568 millilitres?
Pint.
Yes, women named Hetty Sorrell and Dinah Morris each have a relationship with the title character in which novel by George Eliot?
Adam Beebe.
Yes, the younger brother of Michael Schumacher also competed in Formula One between 1997 and 2007 and won 6 Grand Prix. What's his first name?
Ralph.
Yes, the name of which simple sugar, sometimes called fruit sugar, is partly derived from the Latin word for fruit.
Fructose.
Yes, what Oscar-winning 1986 film about the Vietnam War stars Tom Berenger and Willem Dafoe as 2 army sergeants who clash over their different approaches to combat?
Platoon.
Yes, what common name for a species of parrot is often abbreviated to the word budgie?
Budgerigar.
Yes, a psychological test in which subjects are shown elaborate ink blots and asked to describe what they think the blots look like is named after the Swiss psychiatrist who developed it in the early 20th century. What was his surname?
Rorschach.
Yes, it is Rorschach. And Anthony, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you have a colossal 30 points.
Thank you.
Now, let's have a look at the final scores. In 4th place with 12 points is Charlie. In 3rd place with 18 points, it's Lisa. In 2nd place with 22 points is Brian. And in 1st place with 30 points, it's Anthony, which means that he goes through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to him. Now, if you would like to be a contender in the next series, please go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. Join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Unbelievable. It's a great achievement to be here, and I've wanted to get on for years and years, but to actually win the heat is just phenomenal. It's great.
Which of Hitchcock's films was based on a play of the same title by Frederick Knott?
Dial for Murder.
Yes.
Summary.
Yes.
St. Francis of Assisi.
Yes.
I just got the perfect round in my specialist subject. I was always hoping for double figures, possibly a 10, but would have been happy with 8 or 9. But to get 14, to get none wrong with no pass, is just absolutely fantastic.
And at the end of the general knowledge round, you have a colossal 30 points.
Thank you. Clive's comment at the end about the score being colossal, yeah, I'll take that one with me, definitely. That was great.
In 1st place with 30 points, it's Anthony. He goes through to the semi-finals.
Mastermind is the pinnacle of quiz shows, and winning the series would be the ultimate accolade.